News Talk ZB Weather Watch 24/7 with Panasonic Fire TV's bonus gift on now. Manukau and Waitemata, southwest 10 knots rising to 15. Hauraki Gulf, southwest 15, easing to 10 this morning and afternoon. And Bream head to Cape Colville, southwest 10, 15 knots though about the channel, easing to variable 5 this afternoon and evening. The high tide at Auckland, 4:45 this evening. Onehunga, 10 to 8 this morning, then 10 past 8 tonight. Auckland today, mostly cloudy with a chance of a shower. Tomorrow, cloud clearing, becoming fine in the afternoon. Southwesterlies a high of 22, and ahead to Thursday, mainly fine. Today's high 21, tonight's low 16. Currently, we're sitting on 16 degrees here at News Talk ZB.
The breakfast show you can trust. The Mike Hosking Breakfast with Bailey's Real Estate. Your local experts across residential, commercial and rural. News Talk ZB.
23 minutes away from 8. John Grisham back on the program after 8 this morning. Meantime, being a Tuesday morning, the Prime Minister is with us. Very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike. Good to be with you.
We've been talking, we had David Cunliffe on the program earlier on, and Labor's going to vote this weekend on whether they move forward with the CGT and in what sort of shape or form. You would be happy to see an opposition party come to the election in 2026 espousing more tax, wouldn't you?
Well, look, I mean, we've just gone through 6 years where we've seen more tax, more spending, more borrowing, and it didn't work. And we're now dealing with all the hang-ups around inflation and interest rates and recession and people losing their jobs. So, if Labor wants to keep going back to that, good on them. But the reality is, this is a country where we need more capital in this country, not less. And we also need to grow our way out of the recession, not actually tax our way out of the recession. So, that's why we oppose it. There's a lot more that we need to be doing to get this country moving and growing.
Their argument is most people do it, which is true.
Yeah, may well be, but I mean, that horse is bolted. The decision for New Zealand is really around making sure we get this country growing. And, we have seen, what happened. Borrowing, we're now paying $8 to $9 to $10 billion in interest rates because our borrowing went from $5 to $100 billion. And a tax went up effectively. There was no tax relief for working New Zealanders for 14 years, which we've delivered. We just know taxing away is not the way to deal with it. You've got to grow the pie, not just move the slices around.
Okay, so this morning the story is that some schools will not be receiving their maths resources. Why?
I'm not aware of that. I know Erica's working really hard to make sure everyone's got the maths resources they need to kick off the
That's why that's a story.
She'll follow that up to make sure they do. But
is there any reason why they wouldn't?
I'm not aware of any issues. I don't know the story, to be honest.
Okay, basically the union are claiming that a bunch of schools aren't going to get the resources. You've got the cart in front of the horse. You've rushed this. It's too fast, and they're not ready.
No, I disagree. Look, I mean, we got a set of results that said 4 out of 5 of our kids going into high school are not where they need to be. I'm sorry. We could sit around having consultation and kumbaya all year, but we actually need to make an intervention. We did that within a week. We've put forward a new maths curriculum, pulled it forward by a year. It'll be ready to go for January next year. Erica Stanford's done an exceptionally good job making sure that they've got all the digital tools and resources, support books, all that stuff that they're going to need. We're supporting the teachers. The Teaching Council came out, which I thought was very good, and said if you're going to be a teacher in New Zealand, you've got to have sixth form maths, year 12 maths. Seems like a novel idea, but that gives teachers confidence to teach maths properly. So, we have to do this because, there was also a report out today talking about NCA, right, and how abysmal it is, and whether you're a parent or an employer or a teacher, it's not kind of working. Well, no surprise when kids show up for third form and they're doing, 4 out of 5 aren't at the standard they need to be on maths, 1 out of 2 aren't where they need to be on reading. No wonder they lose interest in school, and it's pretty poor results for NCA.
Okay, so just for the record then, if people are short of material for next year for the new maths curriculum, that will be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, Erica, I know she's put a lot of effort into making sure we've got the materials available so that teachers can go. I know we're pushing hard, but we need to push hard for the sake of parents and most importantly for our kids.
Okay. Are we missing something in the economy? Because when the first, there's cuts coming tomorrow and probably 50 points. When the first cut started getting announced, there might have been a little bit of buzz around the place. The worst was over. But if you listen to what Dominic Stevens said the other day from the Reserve Bank, things aren't firing. What's going wrong?
Well, no, I mean, I think, you've got people who have a bunch of economists who have a bunch of forecasts going forward, and I get all that. But, the reality is, yes, we've still got a lot of turbulence to navigate. But I would just say to you, look, we've got inflation back in the band. We've got, what hopefully will be 3 interest rate cuts after 12 interest rate rises. We've got confidence building. That now needs to translate into growth, into jobs. And that's really where we move from cost of living, with inflation and interest rates coming down, gets sorted more. Now it's all about how we grow and how we move forward from there.
I get that.
But you've got forecasts next year saying we could be anywhere from, 2 to 3%.
Who's saying that? I haven't read that. I've said one. I've got one.
You've got one, have you? Yeah.
Well, I've got one from the banks. They say 3% in 2026.
Yeah, well, building, but I think every quarter you'll start to see growth start to improve. But what I would say is I also acknowledge that it will be bumpy. We're still not out of the woods. As you've got essentially the rule of economics is if you spend lots, you get inflation, you get interest rates. We get that. That put the economy into recession for the last 3 years. We've got to haul it out of that now. And then the last thing that gets sorted is employment, and that's got quite a lag effect because if you're a business that's hung in there through high costs and high interest rates and suppressed demand, the last thing you're doing is laying off workers, and that's what we've been seeing.
Is it possible that we are so shell-shocked that the orthodoxy doesn't work? So in other words, when Adrian goes, worst is over, here are some cuts, we don't believe it, and it's not right, hence we're not spending, hence the mood isn't right, hence things aren't moving the way they should? No,
I think those are immutable laws of economics which we completely lost, that we learnt 35 years ago, and this generation of political leadership just thought if I keep spending, if I keep borrowing, if I keep taxing, that's what I need to do. And that's caused the mess that we're in. We were in this for, there were lots of opportunities earlier, as I'd said, when I first became leader of the National Party. There are amber lights on that dashboard. Start adjusting now, because when you don't, you've got a lot of pain and suffering coming at you with employment.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but as I look at the numbers, Q3's almost certainly going to be negative. That's 3 recessions in 2 years. You can't name me a country that's as bad as that, can you?
Well, we're coming out. We did it pretty tough. There's no doubt about it.
We did it tougher than anybody.
Well, we had monetary policy where we were printing a lot of cash. We had the government spending a lot of money.
But the guy who's delivering it tomorrow is the guy who did it.
Well,
if he got it that wrong going in, is it possible he's got it wrong going out?
Well, I think he's got a partner with fiscal policy, with a government that's actually saying we've got to get these books in order and get some financial discipline into the joint. You and I have had tough conversations around Dunedin Hospital and other places. The reason we're being disciplined about that stuff is for this very reason.
Right.
It's easy to say I'd like to spend more, I'd like to borrow more, I'd like to tax more, but that isn't the way forward.
Peter told the House last week that December 13 is the day, if not before, that you're going to announce the ferry deal.
We're going to make sure, that'll be a year since we've announced that we were stopping IREX, which was the old project, and so we're working hard on.
So an announcement's coming by December 13. He's correct in saying that?
We'd get an announcement out by the end of the year.
So given it's the end of November, in 2 weeks' time, you're not going to close the deal within 2 weeks on something that large. You've clearly done the deal already, correct?
Well, we'll have more to say about that, Mike.
No, I know you'll have more to say.
You're going to get a non-answer on this one.
All I'm saying is you've clearly cut
We've
a
made
deal.
a commitment. We'll talk about the ferries before the end of the year.
The deal is clearly in place. Is that fair to say that? Because you can't close a deal between now and December 13. It's clearly in place.
Well, all I'd say is that we are going to get a solution in place. It's important we get a good one in place, and we'll do that.
Have you got it in place?
We'll have more to say about that very shortly.
No, just humour us all to the extent. I don't want to know the detail. I just want to know, is there a deal? Has it been done? And you will announce it by the 13th.
We will announce it before the end of the year, and there's always ongoing conversations. So
is it still live?
I just say to you, it's coming, Mike. That's why I just tell you, it'll be fine. You'll know when you know.
Has it got some rails involved?
You'll know when you know.
Can you get a train on and off?
No, look, you definitely can.
You can get a train on and off?
Well, you can get. It's rail. It'll be rail compatible. Put it that way.
Not rail enabled.
It'll be rail compatible, but as it is today, it works very well.
Will it require a lot of infrastructure?
I can tell you, it's going to be done a lot cheaper than $3.2 billion.
Is it $300 or $400 million?
Again, Mike, we'll have to wait and see.
Will in the December the 13th
These are probing questions.
These are good questions. I've got a text already saying, hey, Mike, how about being a bit nicer to the Prime Minister? So that's gone out the door.
How about being nicer to the Prime Minister?
How about being nicer to the Prime Minister? So by December 13, will we know the exit cost of cancellation?
We will have a full announcement, as we've committed to, by the end of the year.
But it will be, here's what we're doing going forward, plus here's what it costs us to get.
You'll have to just wait and see, Mike. I'm so sorry, but you're going to wait and see.
Is there a stoush building between you and David Seymour over Waikato in the medical school?
No, look, we've got, we're in the stage of wanting a detailed business case for that. It's important it gets a really good commercial appraisal and run over. But all respect, David Seymour's not the Minister of Health. He's the Minister of Regulation. He needs to focus on that. Shane Reddy's the Minister of Health, and he's working. Are
you hung up on Waikato, or could you expand via Otago?
Well, we've always said we're subject to a commercial appraisal, and we've done an initial business case. We want a detailed business case.
You're happy with the initial business case? Because that was Seymour's problem. He said the cost per student's too high.
Yeah, well, look, again, no disrespect. David's the Minister of Regulation. He ain't the Minister of Health. And so Shane Reddy's leading us through that process. We're making sure there's good commercial appraisal over it. We understand, it's a big investment. And like everything, we want to make sure we've got more rigorous, robust business cases, and that's been part of the problem and what we've seen and what we've inherited. So we'll work our way through that, and we'll come to a conclusion once we see those numbers.
Talk to me about Orcus. Has anything happened on Orcus since we've been involved for about 3 or 4 years now? You keep saying, we're looking at it. How long are you looking at it for?
I have to say it's going slowly, and that's because you've had change of leadership in the Orcus countries themselves, I suspect, but our officials are still continuing to talk.
So is it live still in the way it has been live, or has Trump changed everything?
No, that hasn't been the change. What it has been is just acknowledging that you've probably with Keir Starmer and Anthony Albanese, you've a change of leadership at the UK, the Australian end, but more importantly, it's been slow and it always was going to be, and there's no real change from where we were a year ago.
Slow with a view to what? We'll know more when? This year, next year, the year after?
You're sort of moving at the pace that AUKUS countries want to be able to work with, and they've got obviously
the last I heard was Biden wanted something tangible done by the time he left office, which is January.
Yeah, well, that's not happening, so you've got claims in there from also Canada and also I think from Japan and New Zealand, and so we're working it through with those officials, but no real change from what we've had over the
Super quick, the COP thing with this carbon trading that Simon was involved with there in some big international market. Given we're so useless at trading carbon here and our auctions don't work, is this international model going to be any different? Yeah,
look, I think he's actually done a really good job. He's worked with the Singaporeans who've actually done, we tend to do, it's interesting you say that because I was meeting with the Singaporean Prime Minister in APEC again. I've probably met with him 4 or 5 times this year. And actually there's a lot that New Zealand and Singapore want to do together more. And often we are the guys that started CPTPP, for example. We've done a whole bunch of stuff in free trade. And as small countries, I think we can model this out. But there is actually a need for us to get carbon markets working better. Simon Watts is doing a great job. It was probably the one thing of COP that I could see that sort of came through pretty cleanly and articulately. And he's got a finance background, and increasingly climate change is an economic portfolio, not just an environmental thing. And so he's all over that, and I think he'll do very well.
All right, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Christopher Luxon, 12 away from 8.
Get ready for one of Fresh Choice's biggest events of the year. It's our Black Friday sale from Friday 29 November to Sunday the 1st of December. Unforgettable bargains all weekend long on some of your favourite products. So mark your calendars, gather your shopping list and get ready to save